Well, I'll talk about there. So one says, hey, you want to give a talk? And, you know, I was Rotary, and I said, sure. And then all of a sudden, I have this wave of, this wave of fear, you know? It's like, I'm gonna say something that no one will like me anymore. I'm gonna say something that's really stupid or offensive. I'm gonna have to talk about myself. I don't talk about myself. You have to talk about yourself. No, and I'm gonna stand up in front of you and I'm gonna talk about me. This is very unsettling, you know. And the more I thought about it, the more I got into this kind of depression. So what do? You call old Pat. So Pat comes over and says, Brian, will you stop whining? This is a normal thing for all new members. You know, you don't have to worry about it. So it comes back a second time and I'm going, oh my gosh.
Don't move yet.
You know, just the fact that we're having this trouble right here is a kind of a precursor to my fear. Okay. So then I said to myself, I got this.
There.
Yay! So I got the second problem, you know, and that is like I'm a former trial lawyer. And I don't know about you lawyers in the room, but when I say something, I expect people not to believe me. I mean, how many lawyers do you believe on the first time they say something? So I say, okay.
Trust me.
Yeah, right. You know, I mean, hell, they're going to say, oh, Brian, you photoshopped all that stuff. Okay. And I'm going, so what I did is I kind of felt like this sounds a little loud. Michael, is this too loud?
No, it's not.
You're fine.
Is this working?
Yeah.
Okay, so I find, and then, okay, so then I said, but Patrick, I said, I'm not normal. You expect me to share my life and show people how unnormal I am? And he said, yeah, Brian, yeah, you can be unnormal. So I figured the only way to handle this is I lost my mouth.
It's right here. It's right here.
Okay, that, what
You
the
need
hell?
women in your life.
I'm going to, if you want to hear from me, then this is what I think is a fair deal. I want to hear from you. I'll tell you about me if you tell me about you. Here's the question that, again, for you people who don't know, this is my 4th Rotary Club. I've had 22 years at it, going on 23. What do we have in common? You're sitting around the table. Have you ever asked yourself, what is it that basically, you know, what is it that binds us together? Has anybody asked you that besides me? Is it, oh, rats, I jumped too fast. Is it just basically your DNA? Is it just basically, you're just kind of a, you know, you're just a kind of a groupie, kind of fun kind of person? I'm one of 7 kids, and to my knowledge, I am the only one of the 7 that has ever been in a service club. Now, why is that? Is it the number where you appear in the family unit? Is that, you know, is it your family heritage? You've just been imbibed since, and then here's a real easy one. Is it the fact that we're professionals? For much of my career, I had my own law practice with 1 or 2 partners. So you join a service club to help the business. Is that what has brought us together? Okay. Is it the faith? You know, many of us have different faiths. And like I think Jamie said once, was it a significant person in your life? You said that, right, Jamie? Yeah. Okay. So let's start with, you know, I'm sure you can recognize me in this crowd. This is our family.
Holy cow.
And so everybody who's a middle child, can you stand up real quick? Just stand up and sit down. You got it on tape. If you're a middle child, okay, thank you. Okay. This crowd, oh, by the way, this is me up here with the silver hair. Okay, yeah, Q-tip, okay, exactly. Yeah, so this all came from one Irish immigrant. My great-grandfather in 1852, Patrick Joseph Donahue, came to this country with no education. He unloaded boats in the New York Harbor. He had 9 children. Then his wife dies, my great-grandmother. He has to take his son, Patrick II, and puts him in an orphanage because he couldn't raise him. So from that one Patrick who started in an orphanage, all of this came, and all of this row down here in the middle, they're all pumping out babies left and right. So, okay, so it doesn't seem like we have a trend of being a middle child. Okay, how many people, for some reason, I seem to identify with the Irish heritage. I make a big deal about St. Patrick's Day. You know, me and Pat, we got plans to do a pub and a music hall and a bakery in Lamorinda, and we're damn serious. It'd be called O'Donoghue's Pub. So I don't know where I get that from. I don't see any of this. So everybody who relates to their heritage, the concept of a heritage, just stand up for a minute. We got this on tape. You don't have to stand up. Okay, that's a stand up. Okay. Okay, so if that doesn't seem to be a trend, okay, is if have you been a member of a sorority or a fraternity? Because you just love to be part of this party group, okay? Now, I'm sure you can recognize me because this was my fraternity at Fordham University in New York, the oldest Jesuit college in the country. And the amazing thing, this is when I really started to feel I was not normal. There was nothing in the academic side of college that interested me at all. Zero, nothing. So I said to myself, I must be not normal because there's nothing that's interesting to me. This is me, by the way, if you can't recognize me. Okay, so there was one thing. Okay. Okay, how many of you were or are Trekkies? Can you just stand up for a second? Okay. All right. That's what. Okay. Thank you. That's what I live for. I mean, but think of it. It's multisexual, if that's a word. It's international staff. It's international staff. Is it right now? It's international and other planets even. And they go around the galaxy and they do good using science and technology. What's not to love about that? So that's the only thing that had any meaning in my life. So I went in the Army. Anybody who has served in the military, stand up and then sit up. Or raise your hand. Okay? That doesn't seem to be a trend. So I went to because of Star Trek, I went to the Army's computer school. And my military occupational specialty was 2402, which is automatic data processing plans and operations officer in 1970. This was mag tapes and punch cards. And actually, I'm actually the father of e-commerce. Can I get a coffee here? Okay, make a long story short, the United States, you all may remember this, in 1970, the Postal Service, 71, went on strike. And there was a payment center at Fort Benjamin Harrison in Indiana, and the troops couldn't get paid because the post office. So we got the command, I don't care what it takes from the general, 3-star general in the Pentagon, you get those troops paid. So we, for those of you who understand, we used packet switching and sent paychecks before there was an internet. Now, when you pay for services rendered, is that not e-commerce? Well, does not make me the father of e-commerce? So okay, Claire's going around. Okay. I also, because I was so hooked on Star Trek, I went to George Washington University at night and got an MBA in data processing in 1972. And then, okay, higher education. Our new remember, actually, Dr. Tim, my guest today, he's got more degrees and more certificates than you and me together. This guy. I mean, it's scary how many initials he has. It takes. So, yes, I have a Juris Doctor and a certificate in advanced trial advocacy from K. Hastings. I actually, Dylan didn't want me to say this, but I actually wanted to get the education because I knew I wasn't normal and I had to cover that. Anybody feel like that? You know, I knew I'm okay. Yeah. So, raise your hand if you've attended college. Okay. Keep your hand up if you have graduate school. Keep your hand up if you have a doctorate. Okay. Keep your hand up if you do postdoctorate. So that's not a trend with the people in this room. Okay. Have children. Okay. This is our family. How many have been humbled by your children? That could be it. That could be the unifying character. But I'm not going to talk about my children. It would take up an hour. Here's a good one. Who supportive spouse or partner? Supportive. Okay, so that's uniform. So this is a picture of Dylan at the Melbourne, Australia Rotary International Convention in 1993. Now, if my math is right, next year that will be 30 years ago.
That's good math.
Is that right? Is that the correct math?
Yeah.
So, okay, here's a trivia contest. Why is she wearing what kind of coat, dear?
Sheared beaver.
A sheared beaver coat in the middle of July.
Because it's winter.
Australia's upside down. Okay.
Or we're upside down.
Okay. We have 15 grandkids. What can you say about grandkids except it's the best? I'm sure we have so many members. I'm sure you're not in Rotary because of grandkids. Okay. Okay, here's something. Then while I was doing this project, I started asking myself, am I who I have become because of Rotary? It's not. And I said to myself, and this is a true story. I opened up my crummy little law practice in a closet in Redondo Riviera Rotary Club, and I was on the youth committee. And here's a couple of our kids. And I went to this fellow who, his name was William Shakespeare, and I said, you suppose we could have, I love parades, could we have a parade for little kids? Youth committee, great. Redondo Beach, right there on the Esplanade. And within 3 years, we had 18 bands and drill teams. We had the Los Angeles Raiders and Clannés. We had a big fair at the end of the parade. And I said to myself, my gosh, look what Rotary can do. I was just nobody. And look, so, like, in other words, I talked to Mark about whether I should tell this story, and he said, sure. It's a true story. Okay, so Bill Shakespeare, he ran a 12-story TRW building in El Segundo, and he owned like a couple of patents. And the president of the Rotary Club said that he was going to do something for the parade. Well, Bill thought the president wasn't doing his job. And I'm watching these guys go at it. And one of them says, let's go out and sell this in the parking lot. So I'm saying, look at the passion they put into this. Wow. I want to be like that when I grow up, okay? So after a bunch of years practicing law down there, I said, I think I'll take a position at the Bank of America Technology Center in Concord. So in 1993, we joined the Concord Rotary Club. And our kids were now in middle school or a little older. Lynn was running the program for middle schoolers at First Presbyterian Church she ran the community center there on Todos Santos Park. And we said, let's have the Concord Rotary Club adopt this group of middle schoolers. Because I'm an intellectual property lawyer, I designed it. the logo of Life Clubs. I presented it to the legal department of Rotary International, and they blessed it. Now, for those of you, Interact is generally thought of as the logo for high school programs. Rotaract is a program for college kids, okay? So this one club in Concord generated 15 local clubs that basically Dylan was the brain behind. When they had a need, this is a true story, we were having an alcohol-free dance. And so Dylan says to me, go to the back door, don't let anybody run out the back door. So I proceeded to fall asleep in front of the back door. I mean, that's how much talent was involved.
On a bench.
Yeah, but no one got over me. So the Life Club is basically a Rotary club for middle schools. And one of our Rotarian members took a job with the state of California and became in charge of the Club Live program. And so this program was started throughout the state of California, where hundreds of Life Clubs, Club Lives, were organized in middle schools. Okay, so it's a non-Rotary adult advisor, and like there might be a quarterly event where the Rotarians help out. Okay, and then we said, well, let's take this worldwide. So this is the magazine cover of the International Magazine of Rotary International. Beautiful article about Life Clubs all over the world. This is, you could recognize Cliff Dockerman. Okay, this was his entourage with the district governor. This was the club entourage. And so we attended these 5 international conferences, and there's flags on the table, which are, the flags are absolutely gorgeous. So my suggestion is take a look at the flag from the Internet Convention and pass it on, okay? They're just gorgeous. By the way, do we have a flag for this club?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, thanks, Pat. I don't know that. No one showed me. No one showed me a flag. Okay, oh yeah, somewhere in there, we got the County Board of Supervisors Humanitarian Year Award. We were all over the place with our kids. Lynn was running, I was the president, she was the manager of the Young Artist Symphony Orchestra. We had all this Rotary stuff going on all over the place. So someone gave us nominated us, and okay. So after doing that, I moved to UC Berkeley in 1997, joined the Berkeley Rotary Club. And I said, it's like, we can do anything. Why don't we just have a 3, 5, and 10K? Let's have it on Cal Day, so the whole campus is open up like Disneyland. The Cal band showed up for Mike and stuff. The women's chorus showed up to entertain at the show after. We had, now for those of you who know the campus, the start line was right over here, Bancroft and Telegraph. So you run around the campus for the 10K twice, then you cut through the campus, and then the cool part is you finish, just imagine, you're running into Edwards Track Stadium, and you're Chariots of Fire, or Rocky, and you're, oh wow, it was great. And then, okay, so just to bring you present tense, in the Lamorinda Rotary Club, we have just started a youth services committee, and this is our current membership. And I think there's some real energy to see what we can do. As you all know, I don't have any details, so please don't ask me. We know of 3 young people who committed suicide in our area in the last month and a half. So there's something really bad going on, and the youth need us badly. So what our point is what can our club do? And the thing is, we've got 3 middle schools, but each one we're sort of kind of blocked right now for one reason or another. But here's the new thing, that the state of California has just announced a $3 billion grant to create what they call community schools. Community schools does academics, and they also do health. And that's basically what we were after with Life Clubs. So somehow or another, I just got an email back from the state person who's in charge of the whole child thing. So I think we've got a lot of research to do. It's always a function of timing, but I'm after that part of that 3 million on behalf of our club. Okay. Okay, I gotta tell you, I guess I have to tell you that this budget went to be about it. I have multiple books and authors. This is my first book in 1983, How to Buy an Office Computer or Word Processor. How many in the room know what that computer is? Go ahead, Claire. No, we don't know.
No,
No,
we do.
You do? No, tell us.
I don't know. What brand?
What brand and what model?
Oh, I don't know.
NXT.
No,
Sorry.
go back earlier in time. Earlier.
HP?
No,
HP?
it's an IBM display writer.
Oh.
It's how IBM took their dominance in the world. Word processor,
Oh.
okay? And again, this was before the PC came out, okay? One of my cases was the Battle of the Cattle. Get this, the California Department of Recreation and Parks said that raising cattle was not natural. These guys worked on the 14th floor of one of those state buildings in Sacramento. They had, polyester pants and the t-shirts were open with a gold chain, and they were in charge of recreation parks for the state. And why is it unnatural? Well, you have to have a human being to put a fence up. What? Are you absolutely? So we said, true story, I said, we'll see about that. I took an Irish penny, Patrick, polished it up, put it in a frame, and that was the first donation to the Mount Diablo Park Association, and we sued the son of the bitches. Under a California Environmental Quality Act, for anybody who knows about that kind of stuff. And if you ask the Brumlevy family, who's still on top of that hill, why there's cows on Mount Diablo, it's because of that lawsuit. Okay, I was also, same picture, the chair of the Science and Technology section of the Contra Bar Association. And those days, the kids were young, I was broke, and early law business. So I did anything. I gave seminars in 50 cities around the country on software licensing. Why? Because nobody knew what software licensing was in those days. I was such an early, I taught, my first teaching assignment was the Suis River College in Torrance. I put 2 asterisks to indicate, how did I get that first job? Guy from my Rotary Club, was like the dean. I taught at BBC, all these other institutions, my things in the way here. So let me move these things out of the way. I taught intellectual property law at UC Berkeley for 18 years, which I love. All young lawyers didn't all want to get into IP law. And again, I've been in the business for so long, it was great. Plus, I used the students, for those who taught, I learned everything from what was going on in the field from the students. I had, and I won't go into this, a landmark decision that's current law today called RRX versus Labcon. I've done multi-million-dollar software copyright cases in court, federal court, which is against Wilson Sonsini, Goodrich and Rosati. Anybody here work for them? Ever worked for them?
No, with
I was
them.
offered a job once.
Oh, good. I'm glad you didn't take it. No, these guys. Why is it not? Oh, and then after 15 years, I took the job at UC Berkeley for 15 years. This you will not move. I was like Jerry Maguire, and I had the unlimited authority to sign contracts up with half of the UC regions. So all the departments, including Haas, I had weekly meetings at Haas, weekly meetings at athletics, and had screen lawyers, but we weren't in a law office. We were deal makers. We were Jerry Maguire. So in that 15 years, I signed 10,000 contracts, with probably $1 billion of non-research revenue. This office was non-research revenue, and there were basically no rules. So I had, and during those, yes, skip that rule part. So in that year, I liked to write, so somewhere in that lane, 18 published articles, and then the masterpiece of all masterpieces is what's on your table. Some of your tables have the Spirit of Fiat Lux coffee table book, okay? And if you take a look at it, pass it around so people can see it. But I took a whole year after I retired to put the book together with work, okay? What's it? Okay. It's not advancing. Oh, and then the other book that some of your tables have, I wrote another book, and just 2 weeks ago was informed that we were awarded a finalist in the 2022 National Book Awards under the Christian Independent Book Publishers. And even in that, it's a story of 6 men in crisis. My crisis was getting out of the law business and taking a job. And it was tearing me up. And in the book, without mentioning never mentioned the word Rotary, I said I was dying because I didn't want to leave my Rotary Club in Concord. And who knows what it would be like to go to a new Rotary Club in Berkeley.
Yeah,
That's pretty scary, man.
yeah.
You know? So that was part of the story. My current writings and activities, I am an active member. Tim and I just went to a UC Berkeley Emeriti Academy outing last week, right, Tim? And our work, we're looking at using students to, I won't go into it. So I'm also a member of the IEEE. Anybody in the room know what IEEE stands for? Come on. Nobody? Has anybody heard of IEEE? Okay. And you know it? Okay. That's why I wanted to do the test here. It stands for the Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineering. Now me, what the heck am I doing graduating from a liberal arts college as a member of IEEE? And not only that, I serve under the Society for the Social Implications of Technology. And I must humbly admit, an elite group of 15 of us, which is the Technical Committee on Sustainability. That's a lot of work. We have a 4-page paper, which has been years in the making. Tim and I have worked on this, and that's been submitted to the Global Humanitarian Technology Conference that is in September 8 to 11 coming up. And if the paper is selected, then I will make a speech. The IEEE has 400,000 members. And, you know, if there's a way, I suggest it, buddy, we just send out the paper to you guys and you can toss it away. It's 4 pages. It's okay, but this is a story. In 2013, I had retired from Berkeley. I had finished the coffee table book. And I said, I don't know if you guys will fix this. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? Retired. I said, well, I could go back into law, I could go into academia, or I could move into technology. But I was on a speaking tour with various people, and they kept on saying, healthcare is collapsing in this country. You got to take health in your own hands and your community health. But it's impossible. It would take years to change healthcare in this country. You need an army of people to do it. You got to be nuts to try to change healthcare. It's not normal. So I said, sounds perfect for me. And in 2014, I founded the Enterprise 501c3 under the model of what? Star Trek. We started at Starfleet Academy, which is our think tank. We started identifying people. Tim and I go back 10 years, Tim, right? Almost 10 years we've been swimming around. Then boots on the ground. And you're probably saying, yeah, right. Sure. Well, this is real. These are the institutes and schools that currently join our academy. Since you probably don't believe that either, these are the people from Stanford and Cal and MIT and Harvard and Hastings and Trinity College in Ireland. And there's Tim up here. Okay. Then we also hired our onboard crew of the Starship. And all of these are highly, highly skilled people and they're respected. And if you note that the real person looks similar to the character from the TV show, that's not a coincidence. Okay, like for example, just look at the Lynn down there, and then look at the actress Vina. You're not telling me they look the same? There's Elliot, he looks like Elliot, and of course I'm the captain, so I had to change Kirk's. I had to color Kirk's hair to make it silver. But you get the point. Now that's normal, right? Is this everything normal? We all agree it's normal, right? Okay, so sometimes, okay. On our boots on the ground people, this is our group that is just adopted a, not just 3 months into adopting a Afghan family. We're driving their kids. We have physical, our cornerstone is 5 pillars of health, which is, again, it's not that different from what we did with life clubs, walking clubs, exercise clubs. We study faith issues and respect all issues. Here's one. We look at the environment, but we don't look at it. We look at it at the internet. How is the internet a swamp for young people? My God, it scares the hell out of me. And so we're studying them. And then we have loads of parties. This is a model. This is a model of a Rotary Club, okay? So present tense, our high-tech startup is the social determinants of health indexing. So we've been at this for 8 years. $500,000 of my personal investment, right, honey? Yeah, I'm real pleased about that. Then we have this 35 technical people, and this is in short what we learned. That health is comprised of 30% health behaviors, what you eat, your exercise. 20% is your clinical care, the quality of your clinical, but half is the social determinants of health. And again, we all live in Lafayette and Walnut Creek, and, you know, I'm talking about this works all over the world, okay? And so in this country, believe it or not, the social determinants are virtually not used at all. So therefore, the highest quality medical decisions are not being made because the social determinants are you have your medical record, but then the other half of a person's life is where they live and where they work. And when a medical professional is looking at someone, if they only see the medical record, they're quite a bit limited. What we're doing is endeavoring to give the whole picture, the whole person, okay? So why don't the social determinants be used? Because there's not enough time to deal with it. Previously, there's not enough pay, it's too administrative, and what are the results? Well, you probably all know that the number of non-insured emergency visits have skyrocketed, which has forced the cost of healthcare to skyrocket. And who pays for that? We all pay. Everybody that goes into a county hospital, our taxes go, everyone who has, because basically, even though the law says the hospital does not have to take someone who walks in the door, they do to protect their own reputation. So that cost is passed on to, we have that in common. Everybody got that? That's one thing we have in common, paying taxes. So here's a short version of what our system does. We take all of the US government data sets, and they're all free. We take all of the data sets available from states and counties, et cetera. We can drive down to communities. We can use all the data sets that come from education, educational research, all the data sets that we get our hands on, protecting HIPAA and privacy, of course. And we drive that into our computer systems. We prioritize it, we weight it, we use our trade secret algorithms to normalize that data. And then what we do is we deliver it to the cloud, right? And we all know what cloud is. And then from the cloud, we deliver it at the bedside. That's Tim's expression, which I think is really clear. So the doc in the bedside, the paramedic who's in the ambulance, the whatever, you can see what the forces are on this person: gun violence, opioids, poor water, poor air, okay? And this is what the model looks like. On the left-hand side of the screen, this is a typical and actual Kaiser Permanente health record. On the right-hand side is the beginnings of our system, which basically the dark blue is the lowest quarter of health quality. Light blue is from 26 to 50. Light green is from, the next quarter up, and dark green is the healthiest. I can take a look at that right there. And if the doc knows the neighborhood, right there can start to figure out what social determinants there are that are leaning on this patient, okay? Then on the left-hand side is the normal health record. The physician can move up and down with there's no intrusion into that side of the system. On our system, we have a working model where under the 5 pillars, we can get what I call the one eyeball full. I can look at that and see right away that there's a red below score, the light starts flashing. Anybody want to guess where that design came from? Come on. Yes, that's the medical scanner in Dr. McCoy's. And McCoy, you lay down on the bed, and what we've done is taken the same design for, and again, for social determinants. And remember, spec check is 20, it's like in the future. So from there, we can easily drill down, and Tim was very helpful with this. If you got any questions, Tim's ready to answer, right, Tim? We then prioritize the data, remembering that the lowest scores are the highest risk. So in this patient, for example, the lead in the water is a red alert. There's hexavalent chromium in the water, but the rest of the scores are pretty reasonable. They're healthy, right? So the doc can then say, okay, there's something going on here. Think of Flint, Michigan. All the data on those children that got lead poison, it was in the computers, okay? So to conclude this part of it, higher quality medical decisions. The federal government has just changed the compensation rules for physicians to give them increased compensation when they deal with the social determinants, because it's encouraging the physician or our daughters of nurse practitioner to go back to the source. What is causing this? So if, for example, if kids are playing in a river and there's lead in the water, well, by the time the kids get down to the river, they get sick. They go into the docks. This forces the docks to say, what the hell is causing this? Let's go back to the source. So the federal government has recently increased the compensation. That means with going back to the source, the overall cost of healthcare, at least what we're trying to do is lower the cost, because that will increase the compensation. Our plan is to go global as fast as possible. So if someone from Botswana, and if there is such a place, comes up, I really like your system, but we don't have any people to organize the data and stuff. We would say, give us $3 million, we'll have a team in your country for 3 months, and we will create the data sets, okay? So I asked myself, okay, and isn't this like service above self? Isn't this kind of like worldwide? So we go back to the question that we started with. What do we all have in common? This is my answer. It's not about each one of us when we join. There is no consensus, as we just proved. What it is about is that we take a look at the values that Rotary offers us. And what we have in common, we make choices to learn, to grow, and to do. And so with that, we are humble. Yeah, I'm humbled when we do what? Chicken coops? What? Boats? What are you talking about? Cement slabs with stoves and where? And Afghan things and nurses and, you know, all the crazy things that this club does. So I am honestly humbled, and Delin and I are really happy to join us. Thank you. When I'm with all you crazies, I actually feel normal. You know, I mean, you know, when you're around crazy people, you feel kind of normal. So, questions? Anybody have any questions about anything?
Brian,
Yes, anything.
that's great. Thank you so much. It's fairly obvious that you're a pretty visionary guy, and we're so glad to have you in the club in Berlin. And we're better for it. So thanks for sharing so much of a comprehensive view into your life with us today. I hope you don't mind this question, but I was curious about whether you or someone in your life, in your family, has had a health crisis. Did that contribute to this work that you're doing currently? Because it seems like that would be a pretty big catalyst for what you're doing, and without one, you're incredibly driven and motivated about it. So,
Well, let me
mind
answer. Tim and I will attest to over 10 years, close to 10 years ago, we were at Stanford, and our good friend Maylin Fung was the person who harped, and her buddy, who happens to be number 3 in the United States Department of Health and Human Services, Amit Kalla, when the Secretary of Health and Human Services can't make a White House, you know, cabinet meeting, Amit goes. So those two people harped on us. You got to take faith of health in your own hands. Healthcare is collapsing. We have to find a way to do it, and that was the seed, right, Tim? Is that a fair statement? And that's when we met at that conference. We said, you know, aside from the fact, like I said, you got to be not normal to take something like this on. So I knew it was a good fit for me. Why? There's no competition when you're out there totally alone. Nobody else is going to be touching it. So Tim, you have anything to add on any of that?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, no. Okay, Timmy, thank you for your question. I hope that was a reasonable answer. So no, we don't have any medical crisis in our family.
so glad.
Brian, excellent presentation. And it certainly revealed, you know, a brilliance and a great heart. Our careers are kind of different, right? But there was one common denominator. We both ended up in a courtroom with a judge. Often. I'm just curious what your relationship with a judge looked like with your Trekkie and all presentation. I bet you and some judges must have had along the line some interesting interactions.
Wrong. No, the thing is, it was war. It was, let's take Vaughn Walker, federal judge in San Francisco, against Wilson Seedy. They had like 8 lawyers. It was a multi-million-dollar, and I was always representing the David against the Goliath. So that's why I was kind of like heroic most of the time. But I believed in the cause. So I said to my clients, hey, dress up in dark suits and sit up with me at the attorney's table. Because they had like 5 or 6, and it was just me. So I wanted to give the appearance. No, I left the law practice for 3 reasons. One was crooked lawyers. No offense to anybody in the room. You know, I mean, I just couldn't believe how they, you know, when you're a lawyer, you know the line, right? And so you can go over the line and come back behind the line if you don't get caught. Well, as opposed to, I would go up to the line and stop, you know? And so that made me just sick. And then secondly, incompetent judges. Now, the way I would talk about it to myself, you had 15 really bad judges, and you avoided them if you possibly could. You had, you know, 30% that I guess I would say they were, you know, reasonably competent. They were reasonably competent. And then you had the remaining percent were just really wonderful judges who really wanted to. Scott, do you agree? I mean, there are judges that, yeah, but there's a lot of bad judges too, right? I mean, really bad. Really good, you know? So, does that answer your question?
It does, I just, so intrigued in the way you presented yourself in the courtroom, wow.
Oh, I love it, I love the theater.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, like, well, one of my favorite lines was to a witness, and I said, hey, listen, you don't get your ass down here at 1 o'clock today. I'm gonna send out the sheriffs to drag you in. Now, I was bluffing. You know, I mean, it was like, you know, this is the way I would describe it. You're the director. You don't, of the show. You don't know what the cast is gonna say. You don't know what the plot is gonna be revealed. The audience doesn't want to be there. The judge is half asleep. But again, if you're not normal, you love it. Okay, baby, let's get it on. Okay.
So my joke growing up was the exact opposite, not to get in front of judges in courtrooms. So So your program looked very, very interesting. I like how you took your approach to it, and you're going after healthcare. Have you thought about going after mental care?
Well, you know, it's an excellent question. One of the things that we have learned during these 8 years of preparation is when you're going after investment capital, et cetera, you have to hone in to make it simple for investors and partners. And taking it, as Tim is our lead, to the physician at the bedside. That's our market right now. Now, the natural byproduct of our system, because we're just a data analytics company. We're not a healthcare company. The natural offshoot in terms of mental health, but let's go on, in terms of diversity and equity issues. With this kind of data, you can prove that your neighborhood is not getting the healthcare. You can prove, you can have hard numbers on gun violence, on opioid, and all that other kind of stuff. So think about lawyers. You don't think every lawyer in the country would want to use this data if they have a case that involves this issue? Sure, we ultimately will service all of them. Again, Tim's a medical doctor, I'm a lawyer, basically. I don't think we have anybody who holds himself out as a mental health person at the moment in our group. But Bob, it's a great question, but I think that would be a natural byproduct of the technology. Oh, no, Brad, geez, I'm not here. Go ahead, Brad.
So Brian, thank you. I say this with love.
Don't you hate when you start that way? Go ahead, Brad. I know you're gonna say it with love.
Even though your brain may go a little farther off the rails than it already is.
Thank you. That was lovely.
We're here as a soft place for you to fall.
Yeah, thank you. Since I have some doubt, and since I kind of feel that probably no one will believe me, remember and that I probably owe Donnie, he probably photoshopped all that stuff in. There's proof, like again, evidence trial. My evidence table's over there. The books are on the table. And if anybody's interested in any of the books, talk to Delin. Any other questions? If not, thank you.